Team news for the Newcastle clash as Thomas Frank deals with more injuries and suspensions. A report claims that Thomas Frank could be one game away from the sack at Spurs, with club bosses seemingly at the end of their tether, and Spurs set to not try to keep Kolo Muani at the club when his loan spell concludes at the end of the season. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines, where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. And finally, please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Give Me Sport report that Tottenham are set to be without a host of players for the game against Newcastle, but that's nothing new for Thomas Frank at the moment. Kolo Muani, Yves Bissouma and Radu Dragusin were the only substitutes over the age of 22 against Manchester United at the weekend, with Frank being forced to call upon plenty of academy players at the moment. Richarlison, Jed Spence and Pedro Porro are the most likely to return this month, while Romero will now be suspended for 4 matches after his red card. After Romero's antics at the weekend, Frank now has a decision to make in the heart of his defence. Radu Dragusin will likely have to come in for Romero, and Sousa could be in line for his full Premier League debut for Udogie. As for the Newcastle team news, well, Anthony Gordon and Lewis Miley both missed Newcastle's game against Brentford at the weekend, so they'll be in a race against time to be fit enough for this one. The Magpies do have other injury concerns, with Joey Linton, Valentino Livramento and Fabian Schär among those unavailable for the game. Eddie Howe will certainly have to make a decision when it comes to who plays in the centre forward position as well, with Voltemada and Wissa coming under criticism in recent weeks. Team Talk report that Thomas Frank could be one match away from losing his job as Tottenham Hotspur manager in the wake of a series of damning stats, and with the club bosses seemingly at the end of their tether, the club are gaining hope a quality successor will green light a move to N17. The pressure on Frank has now reached what well-placed sources described as breaking point, amid a warning that Tuesday's Premier League home clash against Newcastle could prove decisive. A defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium might seal the Danish coach's fate, potentially ending his tenure after less than a season in charge. Bookmakers now list Frank as the overwhelming favourite to be the next Premier League manager sacked, with odds slashed dramatically in recent days. Insiders suggest that another poor showing against Eddie Howe's Magpies could prompt immediate action. Should Frank depart, Tottenham are expected to appoint an interim coach, possibly Johnny Heitinger, already part of the backroom staff, to guide the team through to the end of the campaign, buying time for a permanent solution. Down the line, though, the North London side have already earmarked the man they want to take charge in the long run, though such an appointment will have to wait, and hence why Spurs, who have wanted Frank to succeed, have stood by his side for now and refused to this point to pull the trigger on his reign. With Spurs bosses already casting their minds towards a successor, we revealed last week how the long-term picture points towards a sensational reunion with Mauricio Pochettino. The Argentine currently leads the USA into their home-hosted 2026 World Cup and has given the green light to return to North London once his international duties conclude this summer. Sources indicate he has no plans to extend his $6 million a year contract with the USA beyond the tournament, and would accept a role back at Spurs despite interest from elsewhere. The Spurs board's patience appears to be wearing thin amid a campaign of inconsistency, injuries and fan unrest. A victory over Newcastle might offer Frank temporary respite, but the writing seems to be on the wall. As the World Cup looms, Pochettino's incoming homecoming could herald a new chapter or simply nostalgia. For now, all eyes are on Tuesday's pivotal encounter and a result that could prove Frank's farewell if they don't get a much-needed result. And caught offside, stated that Tottenham are preparing to draw a line under Kolo Muani's brief and largely underwhelming stint in North London, with no plans in place to turn his current loan into a permanent move. According to Team Talk, Spurs have already decided that the France international will return to PSG when the season concludes. Kolo Muani arrived at Tottenham with expectations of adding pace, movement and goal threat to the attack during the 2025-26 campaign. However, those hopes have not materialised in domestic competition. The 26-year-old has managed just 3 goals in all competitions and is still waiting to register his first goal or assist in the Premier League, despite making 17 league appearances. From the player's perspective, there has long been a sense that his time at Spurs was unlikely to develop into anything more than a short-term arrangement. Kolo Muani is believed to have felt early on that he did not have a clear long-term role in the club's plans, and Tottenham's handling of his situation has done little to shift that belief. Spurs were theoretically open to allowing him to leave during the January transfer window if a suitable opportunity arose, but no concrete offers emerged. That left the forward in limbo, continuing to feature sporadically without ever truly establishing momentum or confidence in the league. Although Muani's performances in European competition have been better, Spurs' priority has always been the Premier League output, and it is there where Kolo Muani has failed to convince. The physical demands, defensive structures and lack of consistent service have all played a part, but ultimately Tottenham have concluded that the fit is not right. Kolo Muani's return to PSG now looks inevitable, though his long-term future in Paris is far more from certain. Okay, so my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, the team news for Newcastle. Well, we kind of knew this, didn't we? We know Tottenham have got a raft of injuries, and obviously with Romero suspended now for this match and the 3 after it. And we're not quite down to bare bones as yet, but it's getting there, isn't it? The likes of Pedro Porro still waiting to come back. Going to be a few games before we see the likes of him. Destiny Udogie picking up an injury against Manchester United on Saturday. Is Sousa going to come in and have his full debut? He seemed to do all right. I thought he did okay, actually. 19-year-old, new to the league. I thought he did okay. A bit of a baptism of fire going in and playing at Old Trafford at the weekend. I thought he'd done okay. So let's see if Thomas Frank chooses to choose Sousa. It's going to be a tough game against Newcastle. Look, they haven't been pulling up many trees, and they could be without Anthony Gordon. He's in a race against time to be fit. Perhaps he might be on the bench. I can't see Gordon starting, but you never know. It's going to be a tough game for both sides, actually. I think this is actually a game, that Spurs can get something out of, actually, tonight. I would expect us to go on the attack against Newcastle, certainly not sit back and let them come on to us and hit them on the counter. There's no reason we shouldn't go at Newcastle. So although we are, selections are minimal for Thomas Frank, I think we've got enough to give Newcastle a game and get something out of this game, to be honest with you. So, I haven't got a terrible feeling about this game like some have. I think there's chances there for us. I think Newcastle, as I say, haven't been brilliant this season. So I think we've got a definite chance. However, leading on from that, this report that Frank is close to the sack if things don't go well against Newcastle, and even if they did, then the writing is pretty much on the wall for the Danish head coach. I think we can all see that, can't we, that it hasn't quite worked out. I mean, look, if he turned it around now, that would be probably the biggest managerial turnaround in Premier League history, I would say. It just doesn't look like it's going to work for Thomas Frank at Spurs, did it? And it's the writing has been on the wall now for a little while. But as I say, I think we could get something out of the Newcastle game. So the thing is, for Thomas Frank, if we don't, what does that mean? There's a long gap after the Newcastle game to the North London derby in 2 weekends after. So the club, if they did want to make a change, have got have got the time to make that change. So if it's going to happen, I would imagine it happens before Arsenal. But let's get tonight's game out of the way and hope we can get 3 points in the bag. So that's not even a decision for the club. I would imagine they stick with Frank till the end of the season now and then reassess. Obviously, with all those reports about Pochettino wanting to come back in the summer, whether the club want to go down that road, who knows. But I don't know, there's something in me that thinks they're just going to stick with Thomas Frank till the end of the season now. But look, let's see what the club decide to do. And the final report, Randall, Kolo, Muani going back to PSG and Spurs not really making any attempt probably to sign the player permanently. I'm not surprised by this. I'm sure everybody out there isn't surprised by this report. It just hasn't worked for him. Sometimes players don't either adapt to the Premier League or adapt to a club, and Kolo Muani is probably one of them. Probably no surprise that he's actually done okay in European competition either. It's just the Premier League is probably not suited to Randall Kolo Muani, which is a shame. You know, it came with high hopes, but it just hasn't quite worked out for him. And you can't argue against it. Kolo Muani will just end his loan and go back to PSG in the summer. And like I say, it's pretty sad it hasn't worked for him because, as I said, I came with high hopes of him. I thought he could really do a job at Spurs, but never quite worked out for him, did it? That's all from me today. Get down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on all those stories today and how you're feeling as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And as always, come on you Spurs.